all the tech stuff that's going on, which I absolutely love. Joshua Michael Jahani, who's MD of Jahn Associates in New York. Hello again. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too.
Now, I was looking at this only today because this is a real bugbear of mine. When you get into a group, right, group chat on WhatsApp, and you desperately want to leave, but you can't because everybody knows you've left and it looks rude. WhatsApp have figured that out.
They have.
Yay!
They have. Yeah, finally.
Finally, it's taken long enough. Blimey.
When I saw this news, I left 7 groups immediately.
Did you? You're a man after my own heart. Because they go off all the time, don't you? Think, what are you talking about now?
Yeah.
So how does this work?
Well, this is a long line in a list of privacy actions that Meta and Facebook and WhatsApp are taking to try to make users more comfortable. The technology is just about the lack of a notification, which is how it works. But it's something that consumers are looking for, right? And you and I are laughing about it, but it definitely is beneficial. I left a group with my wife and her mother the other day.
And they haven't noticed?
Well, no, I left prior to this.
Oh,
so
right.
They noticed.
Oh, they noticed.
It was a conversation, yeah.
Oh, that's awkward.
But it's needed. It's needed.
It's needed. So now you've left those other groups. They don't know you've left.
Correct.
That is amazing. I mean, this is when Twitter, for me, introduced mute instead of block. Because block, it tells the person they're blocked, and they, you know, if you're in the public eye, even slightly, they take that as a badge of honour. So what I love to do is anybody who is even the slightest bit rude, and I mean just the slightest bit rude, I just mute them. I love it because they don't know I've muted them, and they can scream into the night or the morning in their grey underpants in their mother's basements, and nobody cares. So how does this privacy thing work? You just click a button?
As far as I know, yeah, based on the UI that I've experienced, it's a feature that they've rolled out in a couple of beta tests in the application, and then you essentially can just disable notifications that you've exited.
Amazing. I love that. What about Snapchat? What have they come up with?
They have some things regarding parental privacy. So parents can now snoop on their children more easily.
Is that a good thing?
Legally, these children they have different classifications. They don't have the same level of rights that adults have. And I think parents think it's a good thing.
I just don't know what happened to trust. You know, if you've got a good relationship with your kids and they tell you stuff, or I'm being old-fashioned. Probably am, aren't I?
Well, I think it's not a kids thing. I think it's people preying on the children to collect credit card numbers, to collect personal information.
I just don't know how my son would have felt if I said, it's like reading a diary, yeah? I mean, if I said to him, I've read your Snapchat and I see you've been doing X, Y, Z, he would have been livid, especially at the age of 15. He would never have spoken to me again.
Yeah. I mean, that age of adolescence, 12 to 16, 12 to 17, that I think you have to learn. You have to teach your kids, teach them about people that want to prey on them to collect information. But the problem is, especially these kids are online. They're 7 years old.
Oh, God, that's true.
They're 8 years old.
Yeah. Well, you don't let them online then at that age. Alexa has a new name. What are people going to shout?
Apparently Ziggy, to make it more
androgynous.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, some people might say it is a bit sexist to be shouting at a woman and asking her to do stuff for you without a please or a thank you. Some might say that. So it's going to be
some would say.
So it's going to be called Ziggy.
Yes, it makes it easier. I think it makes it more fun. I'm sure highly paid consultants figured that out, that have thought about this longer than I have. But I like it. I think it's exciting.
I just realised that the amount of times that I've said Alexa, there'll be people's Alexas. Okay. Yes. What do you want? So, Alexa, put on Talk TV. Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Now there's a question that interesting question has come up here in the UK as well. The government is now, or an inquiry is now being led as to how we can secure chip manufacturing. The future. This is the big deal, isn't it? The chips. If we don't have enough of these electronic chips, we can't run anything. So chip manufacturing in the US, is this now becoming an issue?
This is important, right? This is really serious. We saw this back in 20 and 21 with how we couldn't get access to basic electronics because of the chip shortage. And it becomes, in the digital age, like you and I are both running, we probably got 20 chips. You probably have way more in all the ecosystem going on your side.
Yeah.
It becomes a matter of independence. Yeah. Your ability to communicate with the whole world. It's your ability to have computers. It's very essential.
But why is the manufacture of it now such a big issue in the US and in the UK? Is it because we're not getting the components? Is it because there are marketplaces that are absorbing all the manufacturing?
It's because we didn't have it. We had a shortage of manufacturing to begin with. It was all very consolidated in parts of China and Taiwan, which helped a lot of companies increase their market cap exponentially, but then left countries like the US and the UK shorthanded.
But I mean, also, it's a question of security, surely. There's something as important as a chip we cannot leave to the Chinese.
Correct.
But we've seen what happened with oil and Russia. You know, maybe this globalization, in certain terms, is coming to an end because of that.
In parts of it, I think the interesting thing about oil is, renewable energy, and why we haven't been able to make that happen as much as we would have liked. Yeah. I heard you complaining about oil prices in one of the previous segments. It's essential. And I think governments have always been anti-globalization when it's in the national best interest. And oil is a great example. And I think chip manufacturing is not something you and I would have thought of in 2019 or 2018, but has become something now.
Yeah, maybe it's time to bring it up back on shore. Yeah, our gas and electricity bills are going to be somewhere in the region of, it must be about £4,500. Is that about $6,000 a year?
Yes.
What about you guys?
Winter.
Are you the same? Are you the same sort of ballpark?
I don't think it's that expensive. No, we spend most of our winters in upstate New York, close to Canada, but we have a natural fireplace. So I try to avoid the oil heating.
Yeah, you just got to go and cut down a few trees for that.
Exactly.
Face recognition U-turn. What's this about? I like the sound of it, though.
So this is really interesting. So in privacy data, obviously your tax identification number, social security number, these are private pieces of data that are protected by the government. And the idea that the shape of your face would also be protected to the same level is something that's new, right? Because it hasn't really mattered except for the last 5 or 10 years. And so as you see companies bounce back and forth with how they want to treat this data, whether the data belongs to the company that collected the data, whether the data belongs to you, since it's your face, is where we're seeing this ping pong right now. And I think this gets back to the WhatsApp issue you were talking about as well.
Yeah. I mean, what's dangerous, isn't it, is when they link your face with all that other bit of those other pieces of information. So you walk into a supermarket, this is the benign use of it. You walk into a supermarket and they direct you to the products that you would normally buy or whatever. That is the benign, rather annoying use of all of that information and what your spending power is. But of course, the other side of that is that's too much information for one body to hold.
Yeah. And how is it protected?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Because in law enforcement, if they collect information illegally, they cannot use it to prosecute you in the U.S. And so that has a certain level of protection on a citizen. And then in consumerism, they just want to sell you ads one way or the other. But who really owns that data? And if you tell them no, and they don't do what you say, do you have any recourse? And the laws here are still vague, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I mean, there's an issue here with the police collecting fingerprint and DNA evidence, and then you don't proceed to a crime, but they've still got all your details, and trying to get that destroyed can take years. And you've not done anything wrong. You know, you've literally done nothing. So very interesting times with who owns your face.
Yes. Very relevant.
Yeah, very, very relevant. Twitter data breach, just briefly, if we can.
It feeds into everything we're talking about. So if Twitter is allowed to house this data, and let's say your premise and my premise is that this is our personal data that we should own, that Twitter shouldn't be able to house without our consent, and then they become a point of vulnerability or risk that now someone can take this to do something nefarious, where they don't want to just sell you ads for buying a tomato in the grocery store, but now they want to steal your identity, or they want to hurt you. This is at the heart of the issue. And this is why these things really matter, is that you have to be...
Yeah, how do you stay ahead of people who are going to steal it, though? That's the thing, isn't it? It's the security, and if we can trust that.
Security, and that people can't just have your social security or your tax information sitting around on unsecure servers. Not that Twitter servers lack security, but there have to be regulations, like with health data.
Yeah.
They can't just have...
It has to be anonymized. Yeah. Anonymized or jigsawed, so it's not all in the same place. It's very worrying, and this because there is too much information out there on us all, actually, partly our fault. But to see what they're going to do with it next, thank God I'm old. That's all I can say. Listen, it's been great talking to you. Joshua, brilliant as ever. Joshua Michael Jahani, thank you. MD of Jahani Associates in New York. Thanks very much indeed for scaring us all witless this morning.